This is the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abich, founder of Abich Financial Services.
I hate to bring up tax season as we are, just kind of enjoying the summer months. I feel like we've just come off it. How dare I?
I feel like we should always be paying attention to taxes, even in the middle of the summer.
That's the truth. And perhaps
so we don't get behind and then, end up owing money to the IRS and penalties or interest or whatever it is because of decisions we made throughout the year.
And that's something I do feel that you do a good job pointing out to folks in the office here on the radio every week, Abe, also is that we need to stop thinking about taxes just when it comes to April 15th. We need to start thinking about it proactively. What can we be doing and adjusting all year round? If it's a little thing you're constantly working on and you have the help of somebody like you at Abich Financial Services, your team, then it's not so much of a burden to bear.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
There were a lot of stories in the news this year about big tax refunds. And for you listening to us on the radio right now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, where the heck was mine? Because many still found themselves writing a check to the IRS despite expecting a refund. There was an article talking about how it's actually becoming more common for retirees, Abe, and that they're owing even though it doesn't feel like their income has changed all that much. So what's going on here? What do we need to know? And how are you helping people do like what we were just talking about, plan ahead so that we're not caught off guard by an unexpected owing to the IRS year after year in our retirement?
Yeah, tax planning and proactive tax planning is a big reason why a lot of people join our firm, why a lot of clients will join our firm because, most people we meet with, most of our clients, as you say all the time, we say all the time on the show here, Heather, is that our clients have typically saved enough, right? And that's usually a few million, right? It could be $1 million to $3 million, maybe $5 million, and oftentimes $7, $10 million and more. It all depends on how much you're spending, right? You could have less than $1 million and be okay. But the point is, most people we see and meet with and that become Abich clients have a good amount of money saved. So the amount of money they have is not the problem. It's all of the risks that can mess up that 40 to 50 years of work that they put in to build that $2 or $3 million or more dollars, right? To then last them another 30 years. What are all these risks that we can prepare and plan for and protect against so we can have our assets last, so we can enjoy income off the assets and maybe even pass money on if that's something we want to do. And taxes are one of the biggest risks that can eat into our nest egg and life savings if we don't pay attention. And then what we find is that retirees get have all kinds of surprises coming up because these are new sources of income and things that are happening at the point of retirement and in early retirement they never have happened before. Example, Social Security. Now, Social Security income is more tax efficient income than other income, right? All of your Social Security is not going to be taxed. I mean, 85% of it can be, depending on your income thresholds. But a lot of people don't even realize that your Social Security income is going to be taxable.
Right.
People get a big surprise when RMDs start kicking in, and you don't have to be 73 and older, right? You could receive an inherited IRA. I had an aunt that passed away several months ago, and I'm receiving money from her, and I've got an inherited IRA, and I'm in my 40s, and I have to take money out of that IRA, right? Now, add that income that I have to personally take out of that account to all the other income that we're bringing into the home.
Right.
That can cause some trouble, right?
Yeah.
And that can be challenging and create excess and unnecessary tax. So RMDs kick in, and then they can create a massive amount of extra income that a retiree doesn't need. The coordinating of all of these income sources is so important. We do that in an income plan and roadmap. And then one final takeaway, Heather, from this article is that I think people really need to start shifting their mindset from tax filing and getting my taxes done on a calendar basis, an annual basis, to tax planning, really proactive tax planning, looking out into the future. What are my assets going to look like 5 or 10 years from now? How can I best prepare for what taxes might be then so that I'm lowering taxes as much as possible on my life savings and more is going into my pockets, my family's pockets than the government.
Right.
We just recently worked with a couple out of Herndon, Virginia, about $4 million saved, more than enough money than they'll ever need to retire comfortably, to live comfortably, plenty of money, pensions, Social Security. This was a former accounting executive at a Big Four consulting firm, really knows money, finance, dollars, cash flow, all of that.
And yet was seeking help for retirement planning, which just goes to show how different it is to plan financially in retirement than in our working years.
And these are the types of clients we really enjoy working with, people that are extremely thorough, detailed, knowledgeable, on top of everything. It just makes putting together a plan so much easier. And for those that are not, that's okay. We help educate our clients on all these things so they can make informed, intelligent decisions for their finances.
Sure.
But a couple of the problems that this couple had out of Herndon, Virginia, just a collection of accounts. I mean, you can imagine, right? You've been working for 40 to 50 years, husband and wife. Sometimes we'll see 10 to 15 different accounts out there that we want to consolidate to create more efficiency. Needed help consolidating, turning this life savings into income, wanting to protect the assets, legacy being very important. And then perhaps the number one reason they came into the office and then ended up joining our company was for proactive tax planning.
Okay.
We put together a comprehensive retirement plan with that proactive tax plan. Roth conversions at the top of mind every single year, doing as much as we possibly can, looking ahead, proactive tax planning versus just trying to get our taxes done April of every year. If you're 55 years old and older, you've saved $500,000 or more of investable assets that we can help you manage. We want to offer you the same comprehensive plan with a tax mapping report and tax plan, that forward, proactive looking tax plan, complimentary.
All right. Besides taxes, something else that a lot of folks do not want in their retirement is having to deal with market risk and major market swings. There was an article on Kiplinger.com aimed at you listening to us on the radio. You hate risk. You don't like stock market swings, but you want something a little bit sexier than what you might get when it comes to a CD. So this article, Abe, it suggested two options to look at. They say, look at structured notes and look at buffered ETFs. So can you explain what those are, whether you use them, how they might apply to somebody who wants something better than a CD?
Yeah, these are becoming very, very popular here. I would say over the last 5+ years from what I've seen, Heather, and I think will continue to be, because the traditional way to put together a retirement plan and investment portfolio is stocks and bonds. That's a traditional investment mix. Right. Stocks, bonds, cash.
Okay.
Right. And then you can have some alternatives that firms will use, like annuities, like private equity, private debt, real estate, and then you add things in like structured notes and buffered ETFs. And what these products, or who these products are really for, buffered ETFs and structured notes are designed for investors who dislike a lot of market volatility. Well, most people kind of dislike a lot of market volatility, but they are willing to accept on some risk in exchange for better potential returns than CDs or savings accounts, or maybe even a fixed or fixed index annuity, right? There's more potential there. They're positioned as a middle ground between something maybe super safe with no loss, think like a CD, or maybe stocks and bonds, right, that have more growth potential, or stocks at least.
Okay.
Buffered ETFs, they'll use options to limit how much of a market loss an investor absorbs over a set period, but in exchange, the gains are usually capped. Structured notes can also obviously limit downside risk, but they are debt instruments issued by banks, so then you want to look at the quality of the bank. And so whenever we use structured notes, we'll use and work with our banks like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, big time banks here in the U.S. Unlike ETFs, structured notes don't trade on an exchange, and investors may hold them to maturity to get the intended outcome. If we're going to use them, typically they're going to be 12 months to 18 months, maybe 24 months max. So, they're not fully liquid. They've got pros and cons, but they're a nice middle ground solution. And oftentimes we'll use buffered structured notes. So, the client has potential growth on the upside, but then also protection all the way down to -20. So really interesting tools. And you know what? There are so many different tools and investments and products you can choose from, but at the end of the day, the plan is the most important thing to focus on.
Sure.
And then depending on your goals and objectives and your risk tolerance and all these things, your ages and your asset amounts and all these things, then obviously the right products, investments, and things like that should be placed into your plan as long as you understand them and they're in your best interest and they fit your plan. We just recently worked with a couple out of Reston, Virginia, 6 risk, 60-40, classic kind of mix of growth and protection, $4 million saved, former physician, big pile of money, wanting to know how to continue to grow it, but how to enjoy income from the assets as well.
Right.
We put together a comprehensive plan to include really all of that: growth, protection, buffers through buffered structured notes. We did implement some of those, and they help clients with growth potential and downside protection, which is really what so many retirees want and need in retirement, right? You need to continue to grow your assets. You don't want to be too conservative. On the other hand, you don't want to be too risky and aggressive as well.
Right.
That is why a 60-40, 65-35, maybe even 70-30 allocation between growth and income, risk and safety is so common, and oftentimes will meet the needs of many retirees. At least it does for a lot of our clients here at Abish Financial, especially when our clients have done a really good job of saving and they have enough saved. They want all that combination in one plan: growth, protection, flexibility. If you're 55 and older, you've saved $500,000 or more in investable assets we can help you with. We want to offer you the same portfolio X-ray and analysis included in that comprehensive plan that we offered to this couple in Reston, Virginia. Learn how to protect, grow, include flexibility in your assets, turn them from phase 1 growth assets into phase 2 income assets. Complimentary.
Abe and his team, they are here to help you do that. So it's theretirementkey.com to start the conversation, or you can just click on the links we've got posted in the show notes.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abich. To learn more about Abish Financial Services, visit theretirementkey.com and join Abe for his radio show, The Retirement Key, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5 p.m.
Abish Financial Wealth Management is an SEC registered investment advisor. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and the SEC has not approved or verified this communication. Abish only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. This material is for general informational and educational purposes only and is not individualized investment, legal, or tax advice. Investment advice is provided only after engagement under an appropriate advisory agreement. Structured notes, annuities, Roth conversions, and related strategies involve risks and may not be suitable for all investors. Structured notes may involve issuer credit risk, limited liquidity, capped or conditional returns, loss of principal, and protection features that may not apply in all market conditions. Annuity guarantees depend on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurer and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges. Roth conversions are taxable events, and outcomes depend on individual circumstances, future tax rates, and investment performance. Third-party rankings or recognition are not guarantees of future results, endorsements, or representative of any client's experience. Criteria and fee information are available upon request. Any hypothetical or illustrative scenarios referenced in marketing materials are for demonstration purposes only, do not represent actual client experiences or guaranteed outcomes, and should not be relied upon as predictions of future performance. Investors should review all offering documents, understand applicable risks, and consult qualified financial, tax, and legal professionals before acting. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Endorser is not a client, and this testimonial has been compensated. Opinions are their own. Compensation may create a conflict of interest. Testimonials may not be representative and are not a guarantee of future results.